बनिधि धीर धीर जन कीर्तन गान नर्तन प्रभु प्रेमामृतम बनिधि धीर धीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो पूजित चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ भुवि भुव भारा बहन तारक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुग श्री जीव गोपालक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुग श्री जीव गोपालक कृष्ण कीर्तन गान कीर्तन गान नर्तन परम प्रेम वीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधा गोविंद गोस्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते प्रभुपादिय देवं गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी ग्राम्य जननिस्तारिणे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सुतारिणे। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जयतां सुरतो पंगो मम मंदमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजो राधा मदन मोहन। दिव्याद्बृन्दरण्यकल्पद्रुमाध श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थो श्रीराधाशिलगोविन्दरेभ्यो पृष्ठालीरिषभ्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भे वंशीवटतटस्थिता कर्षन् वेणुशनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथस्य नः भूतैर्महद्भिर्जयिमा पुरो विभो निर्माय शेते यदमूषु पुरुषः भुङ्क्ते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मका सोऽहं कृषिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to our Bhagavata Prabha class. So we are in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, the son of Dronapanist. So far in the first canto, we have discussed about the 6 questions by the sages in Naimisharanya. In responding to these 6 questions in brief, Srila Sutta Goswami spoke first 3 chapters, and then toward the end of chapter 3, Srila Sutta Goswami said, "Now I shall explain to you in great detail the answers by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam to you." So then, obviously, the sages in Naimisharanya asked question to Sutta Goswami, saying, when did this take place? Which place was this spoken? Under whose inspiration this was undertaken? So as they asked these questions, then in responding to their questions, starting from chapter 4 until chapter 6, Srila Sutta Goswami explained Srila Vyasadev's despondency and his meeting with Narad Muni, under whose inspiration he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he explained about Vyasadev's Samadhi. Once Srila Vyasadeva, after completing his morning rituals, as he sat on his ashram Samyapras, meditating on the personality of Godhead, he had the vision of 4 objects: the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Maya energy, which is under Lord's shelter. And he also saw how the living entities are illusioned by this Maya potency of the personality of Godhead. And 4th thing Vyasadeva saw in his meditation is the medicine by which the living entities can be freed from such infatuation, the attack of Maya, that is, devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. Lokasya janata vidvans chakri sattvato samhita. Normally, people are not aware of these facts. Therefore, Srila Sutta Goswami, Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam for the well and good of the entire civilization. So that is what we saw. And then he said, having compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, he taught it to his Tasyaputra Mahayogin. His son was a great ascetic, great yogi, Nirvikalpaka. He did not have any interest with this material world. Sasamhitam Bhagavatim Kritvanukamya Chatmajam. So it seems from this word that Anukramya means he corrected the work. That means at first Srila Vyasadeva had compiled Srimad Bhagavatam in condensed form. And after getting inspiration from Srila Narada Muni, he again produced another edited version where he did the correction. So in that way, and Chatmajam, Kritvanu Kramya Chatmajam Adhyapaya Masa, Pujatmajam Sukam. Then after correcting his work, he taught it to his son Sukadeva Goswami. Who is Sukadeva Goswami? Nivritti Niratam Muni. He was on the path of self-realization, who had given up the attachment of this material world. He taught to such a person. And Srila Prabhupada, he also confirms in his purport that this Srimad Bhagavatam was given as a synopsis, and then before the detailed description under the inspiration of Narada Muni was conducted by Srila Vyasadeva. And also further, Srila Prabhupada says, the theme of Srimad Bhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease of human being, or stopping completely the pangs of material existence. That means the whole world should take with seriousness the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the only remedy for the suffering or the anxieties of this material world. People are suffering from different causes in this world today. They do not know what is the actual medicine for that. In the material field of life, people are taking shelter of the medicine, psychology, so many other things, but that is just a useless waste of time. If wholeheartedly, whole world learn how to embrace Srimad Bhagavatam, which is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, then whole world can be peaceful and they will know the goal of their life. Therefore, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the cure of the materialistic disease. At present, modern civilization is undergoing. So, then Saunaka Uvacha. Saunaka Rishi asks question. Text number 9, chapter 7. Savai nivritti nirataha sarvatropekshako munihi kasyava brihati imetam atmarama samabhyasat. Savai nivritti nirataha sarvatropekshako munihi. So this Vyasa, this Sukadeva Goswami, he was totally disinterested in anything of this material world. So then he was on the path of self-realization. How was it that Kasyava Brihati Metam. Kasyava Hetu, you can also say. For what reason? That he took the trouble to study such a great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now you can imagine a person who has realized Brahman, why did he take the trouble to study such a great literature? This is a practical question. So Prabhupada writes, the Atmaramas are completely indifferent to material enjoyment in every respect. Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami had already attained the stage, and still he was attracted to undergo the trouble of studying the great Bhagavatam literature. This means that Srimad Bhagavatam is a postgraduate study even for the Atmaramas, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. So these Atmaramas here have been defined like they are the Gyanis. And one who has studied all the Vedic literature scrutinizingly, they take the process of this Brahman realization, self-realization. And when they have realized the Brahman, it is automatically understood that they have studied all the Vedic literature. But here we can see, even after that stage, he still took the difficulty or the trouble, Prabhupada is saying, to undergo the study of this vast literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. That means this Srimad Bhagavatam, it must be a very special literature. Therefore, Prabhupada said this is a postgraduate study for Atmaramas. So then Srila Sutta Goswami responds, Atmaramascha munayo nirgantha pirukrame kurvante hi tu kim bhaktim itham bhuto guno hari. Atmaramascha munayo kurvanti Atmaramascha munayo nirgantha pirukrame. Those who are Atmaramas, even they Urukrame ahituki bhaktim kurvanti. They render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. Who are they? They are called Nirgrantha. Nirgrantha, there are two meanings. Like in the first, in text number 9, Prabhupada says, who have surpassed all the studies of Vedic knowledge. No grantha is required for them. They have gone above the grantha, nirgrantha. Okay? Like in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Yada te moha kalilam buddhi vyati tarishyasi tada gantas nirvedam sotavyasya sutasya. Yada te moha kalilam, how do they cross beyond the dense forest of delusion? That is by intelligence. When the intelligence has gone beyond this illusion, the state of delusion, what is that? The delusion in the conditioned state of existence is created by the concept called me and mine, or this ahankar, the ego, false ego, which causes sometimes anger, greed. But this person who has attained the stage of nirgrantha means he has gone beyond, through his intelligence, he has gone beyond this delusion state of consciousness, and then the mohapalam buddhi vitrishasi tada gantas nirvedam. Then only he will remain indifferent to what have been heard or what he is hearing. That means whatever goes on with his life at the present moment, in the material state of existence, he is not disturbed. That is the state of nirgrantha. So he was nirgrantha. And itham bhuta guna hari, such is the quality of the personality of Godhead. Very nicely explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other acharyas. Like this great souls like Sukadeva Goswami, who are Atmaramas, they are self-realized people. But how do they perform unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead? The question can be asked, right? Normally, those who are self-realized souls, they are satisfied. Then why should they do this unalloyed devotional service? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that when, like in case of this Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva also was self-realized. But when he was instructed by Narada Muni, okay, he got the mercy from Narada Muni. Similarly, here, in case of our Sukadeva Goswami, who was Mahayogi, Kasya Putra Mahayogi. That means he was a self-realized, Brahman-realized personality. And upon being instructed or being favored by his father, actually, Srila Vyasadeva had compiled Srimad Bhagavatam with a desire to teach Srimad Bhagavatam to his son. As we know this famous story, after the son was born, when Sukadeva Goswami came out of his mother's womb, he left his house. And then he went to the jungle, deep forest, and remained in trance. Then Vyasadeva, he wrote the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which describes the wonderful qualities of the personality of Godhead, and he sent with the woodcutters. And when the Sukadeva Goswami heard from the lips of the woodcutters, he could understand immediately the glories of the personality of Godhead. Then he came back. So that is what the desire, because Srila Vyasadeva had desired to teach this Srimad Bhagavatam to his son. So similarly, it is said that Bhagavato Bhaktanam va Kripaya. When one is favored by the mercy of the personality of Godhead or by his devotee, even like Atmarami Tad Gunanu Bhavajugyata Labdha. Even the Atmaramas, they attain the quality of realizing the qualities of the personality of Godhead. They only perform this annual devotional service. My dear devotee, in this connection, one point we need to take a note on for our personal Krishna consciousness is that without being sufficiently favored by the personality of Godhead himself or by his pure devotee, we cannot attain taste for rendering unalloyed devotional service unto Krishna. That means the favor of either Krishna or the pure devotee is very much necessary. Then afterwards, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti continues, Anyatu Atmarama Sajujyartham Bhaktim Kurvanti Ityartha. There are other Atmaramas, there are other self-realized souls who also perform bhakti, means those who are not favored by the mercy of either the Supreme Lord or a devotee of the Lord. They may also execute devotional service, but for what? For Sajujyartham, to attain Sajujya Mukti. Their goal is to merge with the impersonal Brahman of the Absolute. So that is why it is very, very essential that devotees who want to perform another devotional service, they need to be favored by the Lord or his devotee. Or you can say, well, I do not know when I will get the mercy of a pure devotee or Krishna himself. So then what is the next hope for us? So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying, Mulata eva bhakti pradhanya bhyasena. Bhakti pradhanya bhyasena. There is another way shown to us by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. If devotees like us are desirous to be engaged in the unalloyed devotional service of the personality of Godhead, then we can predominantly perform our devotional service. Like Srila Prabhupada, he has given this practice. We have our guru, but many times it looks like we are away from our spiritual master in most of our cases. This is a kind of reality in ISKCON. A spiritual organization like ISKCON, where the gurus are having worldwide program, they are not located in one place, they keep on traveling, and it becomes quite difficult for the disciple to get in touch with the spiritual master on regular basis. So therefore, in ISKCON, we have universally implemented this acceptance of sadhana practice as is initiated by our founder Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Therefore, devotees who simply remain stick to the sadhana process, which have been given to us by Srila Prabhupada, and putting that as a priority in their life. Priority in their life means whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you are already kind of undertaken or going to undertake, in that you just keep Krishna as at the center. That is what it means. Then what will happen? This mood, this culture of Krishna conscious practice will help the sadhaka to attain unalloyed devotional service under the personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada, he writes in the purport, according to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, it means that the Atmaramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of the Lord Urukrama. That means when we perform the devotional service as taught us by Srila Prabhupada, you will definitely come to a point where your consciousness will be fixed on performing devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, yet he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that the quality of his pastimes has nothing to do with material affinity. So, itham bhuta guna hari, this is what it is. This is the secret of the qualities of the personality of Godhead. That it can even attract the mind of the self-realized souls. Itham bhuta guna hari. The qualities of the Supreme Lord is very, very attractive for the spirit souls. The word Hari conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that He, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by avoiding pure transcendental love. By remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be free from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service of a pure devotee, and the result of 9 devotional activities, such as hearing and chanting, becomes manifested. So, then, text number 11. Text number 11 says, Harer Gunakshiptamati Bhagavan Badarayan Adhyagan Mahadakhyanam Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. Harer Gunakshiptamati Bhagavan Badarayani. So, the son of Badarayana, that is Vyasadeva, is Badarayani Sukadeva Goswami. Harer Gunakshiptamati. his mati, his mind was already absorbed in the transcendental attribute of the personality of Godhead. And therefore, he underwent the study of Maharakhyanam, this great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the quality of Srila Sukadeva Goswami have been defined as Nityam Vishnu Janapriya. So this is also another interesting point for us to take a note on as a sadhaka, that when somebody, he loves the devotees of the Lord, Nitya Vishnu Janapriya. When you take interest in the devotees of the Lord, you serve them, you love them, then what happens? Automatically, you get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So here, Srila Vyasadeva, Sukadeva Goswami, who was not only transcendently powerful, he was also very dear to the devotees of the Lord. Nitya Vishnu Janapriya. Thus he underwent the study of this great narration. You see, this Bhagavatam is not a cup of tea of everyone, I can tell you. When you start reading every verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, even many of our devotees, they run away. They say, oh Prabhu, this is too much. It's like, like your horse is just there, you're going to just ride the horse and just go away from somewhere? What? You try to understand those devotees who feel less restless in reading the every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, they cannot relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, this Bhagavatam literature is not relished by many devotees, even in Krishna consciousness. But they feel like, oh, better to hear some story, or like a child. Even nowadays, the children are taking more interest in knowing the philosophy well. Whereas the adults, they find, oh, it is, it's a great fun just to hear some stories from Bhagavatam. What are you going to do that? Yeah, whenever the story part comes, you can hear the story, and don't be lazy and crazy. Just hear the stories. No, you also hear the main verse and understand it as it is. How that desire will come? Nitya Vishnu Janapriya. When you start liking the devotees, automatically you will gain the taste for studying Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the secret of success. Therefore, here it is said that in the qualities of Sukadeva Goswami, he was not interested, he was not inclined to anything in this world. Then why did he undertake? Because he was very dear to the devotees. He liked the devotees, devotees liked him. So in that way, if we can develop the desire to come closer to a pure devotee of the Lord, then we can also gain the taste for studying this great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the best way. Therefore, what is saying, by the association of pure devotees like Vyasadeva, even the liberated soul becomes attracted to the transcendental qualities of the Lord. By the mercy of Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Srimad Bhagavatam, and by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was able to grasp this import. See, this is the evidence. Not that we are just making some statements saying, without being sufficiently favored by the mercy of a pure devotee, one will not gain the taste for Srimad Bhagavatam. In the meantime, we have the evidence. Vyasadeva had already compiled all the Vedic literature. But where did he get the inspiration for Bhagavatam? From Narada. Sukadeva Goswami was already a Brahmanubhavi. Then where did he get the inspiration from to study? From his father, Vyasadeva, devotee of the Lord. So in that way, when we become a devotee of the Lord and try to understand from the lips of such a pure devotee, then Bhagavatam, like such a big literature, becomes very, very easily accessible to us. Huh? So, now the topic is being changed here. Huh? So far, Srila Sutta Goswami, he responded to the queries of the sages in Naimisharanya. In 4th chapter of 1st canto, the sages had asked, Tasya yogi, Tasya putra mahayogi. So his son was a self-realized soul. So why did he study this literature? So now we answer this. What is that? Nitya Vishnu Janapriya. And he was Hare Guna Kiptamati. So in that way, he studied. Now they had also asked other questions. Prayapavishena Shravanam Katham Tasya Janma Mahacharyam. So in the 4th chapter, when the sages in Naimisharanya asked the question, they had asked Maharaj Parikshit, who was a great descendant of Maharaj Pandu, when he was the emperor, why did he decide to give up his kingly position and came on the bank of Ganga, sat down and fast until death? And there must be something great about Maharaj Parikshit. Tasya Janma Mahacharyam. When he was in his mother's womb, he had darshan of the Supreme Lord. So that means the birth and activities of such a great person must be associated with Krishna Katha. And therefore, we want to hear in great detail about the birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit. So here, Siddhartha Swami says, Tasya Uttaram Bhaktum. So in order to give the answer of the sages of Naimisharanya that was concerning the birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit, now he is going to narrate it. Parikshito Tharajarshe Janma Karma Vilapanam Samstham Cha Panduputranam Bhakshi Krishna Kathodayam. Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis headed by Saunaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of the Lord Sri Krishna and topics of the birth and activities and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of the renunciation of the worldly order by the son of Pandu. So what is that? Janma Karma Vilapanam. The birth, activity, and the deliverance of Maharaj Parikshit and Samsthancha Panduputrana. And how the son of Maharaj Pandu, the 5 brothers, Pandavas, how did they renounce this world? And all these concerns Krishna Katha. Somebody may say, why one should take trouble to study all these great warriors? No, they are not just simple warriors. Their life is related to Krishna Katha, and therefore we should hear about them. Any historical fact, old or new, which has a connection with the activities of the Lord is to be understood as a transcendental narration of the Lord. So in that way, when we are hearing any historical fact, it has a connection with the Supreme Lord, And that must be undertaken under the study. And then Prabhupada down the line purport, he says, Krishna and his pure devotees like the Pandavas are on the same plane. Krishna is not without his devotees of all the rasas. And the pure devotees like the Pandavas are not without Krishna. The devotees and the Lord are interlinked and they cannot be separated. Therefore, talk about them are all Krishna Katha or topics of the Lord. We don't just take to some discussion which has got no connection with the personality of God. That should not be done actually by the devotees. So that means devotees are not even for a moment separated from Krishna, and Krishna is not also separated from his devotees. So now the Katha, Krishna Katha begins. Yada mridhe kaurava sinjayanam virasvatho viragatim gatesu Dikodarat viddhagada vimarsa bhagna ludande dhutavashtraputre bhartuho priyam dravonirite pasyan Krishna sutanam swapatam siramsi upaharadvi priyame vatasya jogopsitam karma vigarhayanti Ijada mridhe kaurava sinjayanam. Here, Srila Sutta Goswami is saying, Ijada mridhe, mridhe means yuddhe, in the war, in the fighting. When there is this battle between two parties, who are the two parties? Kaurava and Sinjayana. One may ask this question, the fighting was in between Kauravas and Pandavas. So both the parties belong to one dynasty, that is Kuru dynasty. Then why Sutta Goswami here is saying Kaurava and Sinjayana? Because Drishtadumna, he came from Sinjaya dynasty. And he was the he was on the Pandava side, leading on the Pandava side. Therefore, the Pandavas have been defined here as Sinjayana. Yada mridhe kaurava Sinjayana viraspathe viragatim gatesu. This is the description given at the end of Mahabharata war. As we know, Mahabharata war continued for 18 days. On the last day, when almost all the soldiers on the side of Duryodhana left their body, they had been killed, and some of the soldiers on the Pandava side were also killed. On the final day, when there was the fight between Bhima and Duryodhana, we know from Mahabharata how Krishna helped Bhimsen to struck the club on the spine, and then the on his thigh actually, and then Prabhupada is saying his spine broken. Duryodhana fell down, and Duryodhana did not leave his body actually. And when Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, and Kripacharya, these three, they saw that Duryodhana was heavily beaten by the club of Bhima, they ran away from the battle. It was just before sunset. And then sunsets, war is concluded, and then the Pandavas, they came back to their camp. And this Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, and Kripacharya, they were heavily grief-stricken to see how Duryodhana was suffering, was lying on the battlefield of Kurukshetra dead at night. The jackals were having the feast on the dead bodies. There is no light. There is no one to give him a drop of water to Duryodhana. He is screaming, shouting, and crying. And at that time, this Ashwatthama was thinking, now I should do something at this last moment of my friend. When he leaves his body, he should at least live in peace. So it was night time. So three of them, Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, and Kripacharya, they came near Duryodhana, where Duryodhana was lying on the battlefield, just crying. And in that condition, Ashwatthama told Duryodhana that, my dear friend, before you leave your body, at least I want to ensure that Pandavas are killed. Now, even though officially war is concluded, but still I will kill them. Somehow I will find them and kill them. And he got this idea actually. Where did this get this idea? When they were sitting under the tree, just in the beginning of the night, Ashwatthama, he saw there were crows, actually owl, coming into the nest of the crow, and they are killing the offspring of the crow. So that time, Ashwatthama thought, oh, when the Pandavas are sleeping in the camp, I can go hidingly and behead them. So that was running in his mind. Even though, according to the principles of war, killing your enemy when they are sleeping, when they are without weapons, when they are begging for help is not allowed. But still, Ashwatthama is thinking, somehow or other I will kill them, and that is how I will satisfy my friend Duryodhana. So then Duryodhana said, all right. He took the blood and put it as a tilak on the head of Ashwatthama, announcing that now you are the Senapati, you are the commander-in-chief, go ahead. So three of them, they went. But Ashwatthama was very much determined to go into the camp of Pandavas to kill them while they are sleeping. But Kritavarma and Kripacharya, they were not very much in favor of such idea. And then Ashwatthama alone, he went into the camp of the Pandavas. And he beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. That's why it is said, Upaharat vipriyameva tasya. Upaharat. Krishna sutanam swapatam shiramsi. Krishna, Draupadi's sons, Shishus, children of Draupadi, 5 sons of Draupadi were sleeping. And Ashwatthama went inside and he beheaded them. And Upaharat, he brought those 5 heads and presented it to Duryodhana. So here one question can be asked, Ashwatthama was supposed to behead the 5 sons, Pandavas, and now he beheaded 5 sons. Where were Pandavas at that time? You see, Krishna is very, very, so how Krishna acts, nobody can understand. Krishna knows everything. So that night, Krishna told 5 Pandavas that, look, now Kurukshetra war is ended. So tonight there is nothing to fear. Let's go out and sleep outside of the camp. We'll not sit inside the camp. So the Krishna, along with 5 Pandavas, they were sleeping outside the camp. And the 5 sons of Draupadi, they were sleeping inside the camp. And it was night time, so they are also 5, and they are also looking alike, like Pandavas. And after beheading them, Ashwatthama, he brought these 5 heads and presented it to Duryodhana. And when Duryodhana, he heard the news that, oh, Ashwatthama has come with the heads of the Pandavas, he became very happy, joyful. Or now, finally, I have won the battle. But then he was thinking, is it so that you are successful in beheading the Pandavas? He asked the question. He said, my dear friend, where was Krishna? He said, no, Krishna was not there. Then Duryodhana started to doubt. He said, Krishna was not with the Pandavas and you beheaded them? I can't believe this. See, Duryodhana, he was a Buddha number 1. I mean to say, he was such a person. He knew Krishna is Supreme Lord, but still he is not taking shelter of Supreme Lord. There are so many people in this world today they also come in this category. They know Krishna is God, still they will not take shelter of Krishna. Anyway, so Duryodhana said to Ashwatthama, okay, let me see what are those heads. As you know, it was night time, he cannot see. So he said, give me the heads. And one after another, Ashwatthama gave the head in the hand of Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, by taking the heads, he started to press the heads. And one after another, 5 heads cracked in his hand. At that time, Duryodhana became very, very unhappy. In fact, he condemned Ashwatthama for his heinous act. He said, what did you do? You actually bring an end to our dynasty. You should not have done this. They are not Pandavas. They are our children. What did you do, Ashwatthama? That's why I said, Vipriyameva tasya jugupchitum karma vigarhayanti. That was a condemned activity. Even though he wanted to satisfy his master Duryodhana, but Duryodhana was not at all pleased with the endeavor of Ashwatthama. And Prabhupada is saying, the purport of this verse, that this Bhagavatam should be studied and understood from the proper devotees, and devotees, especially born in Bharatavarsha, should actually present this. Prabhupada is saying, Lord Chaitanya desired that, okay, little before we can say, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to be informed of both Krishna Kathas by his order. Lord Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna himself. In the garb of a devotee of Krishna. And therefore, the versions of both Lord Krishna and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are identical. Lord Chaitanya desired that all who are born in India seriously understand such Krishna Katha, and then after a full realization, preach the transcendental message to everyone in all parts of the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity of the stricken world. Once again, Prabhupada is saying, as he is stressing the importance of studying Bhagavatam and distributing this message of Srimad Bhagavatam to one and all. So the story continues. Mata Shisudam Nidhanam Sutanam Nisamya Ghoram Paritapyamanam Tadarudad Vaspakala Kulakshi Tam Santvayan Aha Kiritamali. Now you can imagine mother who has lost 5 sons, what would be her situation? Mata Shishunam Nidhanam Nishamya. When Draupadi heard about the death of her five sons, Ghuram Paritapyamana, Tada Rudbaspa Kalakulakshi, and his eyes became filled with tears. She started crying. Incessant tears started rolling down from her eyes. And then Tam Sanpayan Aha Kiritamali. Kiritamali means Arjuna. Why Arjuna have been described here as Kiritamali? Sridhar Swami explains, he says, even though Arjuna, wore one helmet, but this had many, what do you say?
Spikes, Prabhuji? Spikes?
Yes, correct. Thank you. So that's why he's called Kirita Mali, Arjuna. Anyway, Arjuna was, he told Draupadi, he said, Tada Suchaste Pramijami Bhadre. He is addressing Draupadi saying Bhadre. Tada Suchaste Pramijami. I will wipe out your tear. So this is how the Kshatriyas, they behave. Jad Brahma Bandhu Shira Adataina. He is a Brahma Bandhu. He, even though he is born in a Brahmana family, but he is a wretched Brahmana. He does not know what he should do and what he should not do. And what he has done? He has killed your son. Okay, you see what I am going to do. Gandiva Muktai Vishikhair Pahare Tatkamya Snashyati Dagdha Putra. I will behead Ashwathama, bring his head and present to you. After you have finished the final rite of your sons, then you stand on the head of Ashwathama and take your bath. Wow! You can imagine how a Kshatriya is kind of promising. So then, iti priyam balgu vichitra jalpai santayitva chutamitra sutah anva dravaddam sitadhan ugradhanva kapit bhaja guruputram rathena. Now, immediately he, boarded the chariot which was carrying Kapidhwaj, and he started to follow Ashwathama, the son of his guru, because he wanted to keep his words for his wife, Draupadi. So, Krishna is there. Krishna is still kind of acting as the chariot driver for Arjuna. So Arjuna did not use any other person to drive the chariot. Okay, now he mounted on the chariot, then Tama Patantam Sa Bilaksha Durat. Ashwathama could see from far that, oh, now Arjuna is following me. Oh, now he is in danger. Kumar had Bigna Manarathena. Already he was disturbed in his mind because of killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi. Here, our acharyas, they explain that when somebody commits sinful activities, after that automatically he becomes very disturbed in his mind. So having committed such a sin, Ashwathama was already disturbed in his mind. Now he could see Arjuna is following him. You can imagine his situation. That's why it has been described. Para drabat prana paripsururyam. You see, for a Kshatriya, they don't care about their life. When the fighting opportunity comes, they enjoy. Okay, either I will die or I will win the battle. They never flee from the battle. But here, prana paripsururyam, Ashwathama was very much concerned about saving his life. Therefore, he ran away. Not that he is thinking, oh, if I am running away without fighting with Arjuna, what people will think about me? He was not concerned about his prestige in this world. Okay. And Javat Bhayam Rudra Jatha Bhayat Ka. Rudra Bhayat Jatha Ka. So the explanation had been given from Vamana Puran. Once upon a time, there was a demon by the name called Vidyutmali, who was a devotee of Lord Shiva. Upon performing the penance, he could satisfy Lord Shiva, and being pleased with the penance of Vidyutmali, Lord Shiva gave him a plane made of gold. And there are the special characteristics of this gold, this plane. It would shine like the sun. So this demon, Vidyutmali, what he will do? Riding on this golden plane, he would follow the course of sun. Means sun is moving, he will go also from behind. Now you can imagine. When sun leaves, it's supposed to be night time, right? But if Vidyutmali go follow Suryadev, then there is no night. Always there is daytime. Now you can imagine the whole world got disturbed. Why? See, Krishna's creation is very perfect. Krishna has given us day and night. Why? During daytime, you perform the religious activities. Nighttime, you go to sleep, right? But when there is always daytime, the people do not know when is night, everything is disturbed. So the sun god became very much displeased with the activities of Vidyutmali. Then, through his effulgence, sun god melted the plane of Vidyutmali. Upon this, Rudra became very unhappy, and he started to chastise sun god. And we said the sun god went running and fell down at Varanasi, Kasi, and the place became famous as Lolag. So similarly here, at the fury of Arjuna, Ashwatthama is running away. And what is that? And at that time, Ashwatthama could see Yada Saranam Atmanam Aikshata Santavadinam. Now he is looking for a shelter for himself. He wants to safeguard himself. And Santavadinam, he could see my horses are now tired. Astram Brahma Siromene Atmatranam Dvijatmaja. Here Ashwatthama have been defined as Dvijatmaja. Means Adirgha Darshitama. Ashwatthama did not have subtle vision. There, he does not know what is the consequences of releasing a Brahmastra, whether this is right time or not. When I do not know how to retract this weapon, should I release it or not? This kind of knowledge was lacking in Ashwatthama. He was just concerned about his own protection. Therefore, he understood that the only way to save myself is to release the Brahmastra weapon. So thinking like that, he released the Brahmastra weapon. Prabhupada is saying nuclear weapon. Athopas Prishyastalam Sandade Tatma Tatsamahita Ajanan Apisangharam Prana Pracha Upasthite. When his life was in danger, then he understood that I have to release Brahmastra weapon. So, Athopos Precious Sarilam, that is a way to release these celestial weapons. Nowadays, all are Shudra, they don't have any qualities of the Brahmana, they don't understand. But on those days, it is explained in different Puranas and Shastras that The celestial weapons can be invoked by chanting the mantras. And how to invoke these auspicious weapons? They have to be, pure. So therefore, he took water and did achaman. And after doing achaman, he invoked this Brahmastra weapon. Brahmastra weapon is not like something which is always kept with him. No, it has to be invoked by chanting the mantra. And then he released the Brahmastra weapon. Tataha pradushkutam teja prachandam sarvato disham. You can imagine the effulgence, the heat produced from this Brahmastra in all directions. Like Prabhupada is comparing it to nuclear weapon. In the modern age, nuclear weapon is the strongest weapon, right? So when he released this weapon, what happened? There was a glaring spread in all directions. And it was so fierce that Arjuna thought his own life in danger. And so he began to address Lord Sri Krishna. See, this is the difference between the devotee of a Lord and a non-devotee. When Arjuna, he saw his life is in danger, he immediately turned towards Krishna. When Ashwatthama, when he saw his life is in danger, he tried to exercise his intelligence without understanding the good and bad side of his activity. He just released Brahmastra weapon. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness also, those who are pure devotees of the Lord, when they are being tortured by others, when they are facing the troubles in their life, they never become envious or inimical to take revenge from someone who is their opponent. And they always turn towards Krishna. They always take shelter of Krishna. At least the practical way to take shelter is that take shelter of Krishna's advice. They don't try to act capriciously. No. They know, now I have to really take shelter of Krishna. And then Krishna protects them. Whereas a non-devotee, he just tries to make his own arrangement how he can get rid of the problem. He wants to face the problem by making his own solutions, and that is not good actually. So in that way, now Arjuna, and you will see the next, today time is up, so you will see next, even though Arjuna wants protection from Krishna, not that he is going to Krishna, dialogue, Krishna, please help me, like this, now I'm in danger, this is the problem. He is not telling like this. That is a way how you can approach the great personalities for their help. That we will see in our next class. So we will conclude our class here today. Now I am going to take questions from you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Anupama Radharani Mataji, right?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful lecture. Prabhu, I have two questions. First one is, I'm not clear, when did Shukadev Goswami, it says from his birth, he was Brahman realized. He was self-realized. And after hearing the Bhagavatam from his father, he attained, did he attain then Bhagwan realization?
Okay.
Yeah. So is it that while he was in the womb itself, he was self-realized? Is it like that?
Yes, he heard from his father. Actually, see, Sukadev Goswami had heard Bhagavatam and about Brahma Tattva Gyan in form of Sukha. There's a history about when Lord Shiva was describing to Parvati. That is where the Shuka, in form of parrot, he was listening to the narrations, and Lord Shiva had told Parvati that when I am speaking, don't go to sleep. And you have, how I will know whether you are listening or not? You should say, means there is some indication that, oh, you are still listening what I am saying. You have to confirm, right? Like you tell a story to the child will say, yes, yes. So that is what it means. And then, Shiva, Lord Shiva, when he speaks about Krishna Katha, he goes into Samadhi. And he closed his eyes, he was in Samadhi. Now he is just following Parvati Devi's indication in form of yes, yes. That means Lord Shiva understood that she is hearing. But in the meantime, the Parvati Devi, she fell asleep. And the bird, Shuka bird, was sitting on the tree above. He started saying yes, yes, giving proxy to Parvati Devi. And Lord Shiva was thinking, okay, going on, she is hearing. So then after some time, when Lord Shiva, he opened his eyes, he could see, oh, Parvati is asleep. She is not saying yes, yes, somebody else is saying, who is this? Then he looked at, oh, then Lord Shiva, he actually chastised with his trident. And then he came and took shelter in the womb of the wife of Vyasadeva, and that's how he was born. And it is said that because he had heard from Lord Shiva, he had already attained the Brahman realization. That is what it is. Some Purana, they explain the story like this.
So why is it that he did not achieve Bhagwan realization after hearing Bhagavatam?
It was not completed, no. Lord Shiva did not complete the narration yet. So he had heard to some degree where he could realize Brahman. Therefore, he was already Brahman. The narration was not completed yet.
Thank you, Prabhu. One more question, Prabhu. Since Kritavarma and Kripacharya, both of them took part in killing the Pandavas' sons, why were they given royal positions in Yudhishthir Maharaj's court after the Mahabharat war?
No, they did not go to actually see Kritavarma and Kripacharya. They did not go with Ashwatthama. Only Ashwatthama went. That is one thing. And the other thing is, even though you can say that, well, Kripacharya, Kritavarma, they were actually on the opponent side. And after Duryodhana, so after Yudhishthira Maharaj became the king, still they were actually, like Kripacharya was still his Kula Guru. Why? How did it happen? This is how you understand the magnanimity of a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. Yudhishthira Maharaj has been defined as Ajata Satru. Ajata Satru means whose enemy has not taken birth in this world. Yudhishthira Maharaj never sees anyone as his enemy. What to speak of, now you see he has become the king and he can definitely engage anyone out of his great magnanimous quality. Even when they were in exile, when the exile was over and the 1 year of incognito was also ended, then there was a meeting in Virat Nagar where great supporters of Pandavas, they assembled in Virat Nagar and they said, now it is enough. We should not allow Pandavas even to go and they don't have to do anything. Let them be here. We will go. We will ensure that all these Kauravas are killed. In any way, we will find our way. And we will take the kingdom and we will give to Yudhishthira. Then Yudhishthira said, no. you can do this. You can imagine? That is how you should understand the great quality of a devotee of the Lord. They never find fault with anyone. They never blame anyone for their misfortune. They always try to stay by the side of dharma. They never become adharmic, and they always try to give shelter to everybody. And they treat their friend and enemy alike. And this is the great lesson we can take from the life of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
That is why we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. By knowing this thing, then we can also mold our life to at least some degree. To the degree we are purified, to that degree we can bring ourselves near Krishna. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So then Sahadev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Beautiful class again. Thank you. Prabhu, my question has to do with Ashwatthama and Srila Prabhupada's stance on capital punishment. Because I believe in most parts of the world today, if anybody acted like the way Ashwatthama did, he would face the capital punishment.
Yes.
But he was spared, and even Draupadi herself was begging for him not to be killed. So I just wanted to find out what is the stance of ISKCON on capital punishment.
Okay. Oh, ISKCON. Or
Yes.
you are talking about Ashwatthama.
Yes. Yeah, I mean Ashwatthama, but like maybe if a devotee is in a position of government where he can make certain rules, and like maybe he's a judge, somebody has committed a crime that warrants the person to be killed. If you have to do that in the perspective of devotional service, as Srila Prabhupada's teachings, what do? Do you have to say, okay, what this person did is so heinous, he's qualified to be killed, so he can be killed?
Okay. See, there are common religious principles which is applied the way you are saying, but at the same time, Vaishnava Dharma is transcendental religion. We are not meant to come under the law of this material world. We are supposed to act transcendental to the material principles. Okay? But the rule is, when somebody commits a mistake, if he is punished, then what happens? This person will not have to suffer subsequently because he has undergone the punishment. Or if the situation of the matter is dealt properly, then there is a possibility of that person changing himself or herself. Like you see, for certain crime, the prisoners, the criminal is sent to the prison house for n number of years sometimes, right? Why? What is the point behind sending a criminal to the prison house? The point is, prison house is a rectification process. Sending a criminal to a prison house for n number of years is a process of rectification. So there are different ways how you should rectify the situation or punish the criminal. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, if somebody and does commit some mistake, then he should be dealt properly by following the codes of our Vaishnava principles. Not that we just arbitrarily apply what we have heard from something or some source, and we feel that is the way of punishing Mr. X for such and such crime. No, there should be some experts. I would say a religious organization should be running under the supervision of independently thoughtful Brahmanas. I mean to say Vaishnava Brahmanas, not just Brahmanas, who are pure devotees. They know Shastra thoroughly and they are equal. They don't take side of anyone. So those kind of devotees should find the reference from Shastra and they should guide the devotees who are in administrative position to deal with the matter correctly, so that the society can go on the right track and there is a possibility of the society is life is established on the proper forum and people will take us seriously. And on the other hand, if we don't do that, then the devotees inside society, they will lose their faith on us. And the outside people also, they will take us lightly. But in any situation, matters should be dealt correctly. And it should be also kind of announced to the people. Like a king would deal with certain subjects in a particular way, and that will be announced so that other subjects are aware of the situation. So in that way, the law and order can be maintained for peace and prosperity of the entire human civilization. Okay. Murali Govinda Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam. How are you, Prabhu? You are feeling much better now?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, I have a small doubt. It is explained, even today also you were saying that Srimad Bhagavatam should be heard from the pure devotees. So then only you'll be able to understand and realize also. You can absorb yourself in that. So that does mean on our own, if we read, we will not be able to realize the essence of it.
No, because you are reading under Prabhupada's guidance, following Prabhupada. If you read on your own, it will be as effective as reading under the guidance of a pure devotee. Because you are not reading it, you are trying to understand independently what Prabhupada has said or Acharyas have said, you are reading that. As long as you are not adding something or subtracting something from the main source, then that is all right. Especially in our society, I would say like that. I'm not talking about you reading a book just from any other Acharya, any other commentator. No.
Right.
Read Prabhupada's books, then you are okay, as good as studying under the guidance. Prabhupada wanted that, no? So you are following that. That's been done.
Oh, okay. Because
Good.
Prabhuji, oftentimes what happens now, we have that kind of sentiment. I don't speak in general, but I have some kind of sentiments that I should be hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class of so and so. Is it a kind of attachment even for hearing also?
Yeah, if you have attachment to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a particular devotee, that's good, no? So I'll see, Suhi just by being desirous to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, by being desirous to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord is encased in your heart. Therefore, you are coming to this class, we can see, even though we are not qualified, still you are giving us this opportunity to speak for you. See, this is a good quality actually. Everybody should desire to hear. Only thing is, we should hear from someone who is speaking the truth, not that what I like to hear, he is speaking, therefore I should go to him. If something I don't know, for example, I don't want to follow four regulative principles, but I want to hear Bhagavatam. Then I will go to that person who is not very strict about four regulative principles, and I want to hear from him. What is this? He himself, first of all, is not following four regulative principles. He is not strict on that. Whereas our founder Acharya has told that four regulative principles is must. You understood what I am saying, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
The speaker should also follow what he speaks.
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
From that kind of speaker you should hear.
Because
there are
this,
so many
yes,
so-called
sorry.
speakers.
Please. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one more thing, like when you speak this Bhagavatam, other than this verse purport and translation and contents of that particular verse, you have also been very kind enough to explain so many other things which are coming in that process. That is something very great about you, because this is a very new concept for me. So sometimes due to logistics, I'm not able to pen down what the contents you are saying, but frequently I do that. I'll be noting down, because it will be useful for our even reference and for preaching activity also. Because that is helping us to connect, like this Aswadhama story, whatever you are told. Some things are not there here, but you are kind enough to explain that also, so that we will be very strongly believe that yes, this is the quality of Aswadhama. So how Draupadi has reacted to that. These things are very, very informative, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is, you see, because whatever I am narrating the story, that is related to that particular verse. And
Yes,
when you give the preview, then becomes more clearer for the listeners. Therefore, sometimes I do that. Whatever I know, whatever I have heard from my Guru Maharaj, I try to repeat that. And so we are trying to follow the acharyas here. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
for your
Prabhuji.
nice comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Shailesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, All Krishna Prabhupada. Nice to see you back again. Thank you. We are all praying for your good health so you can continue giving us lots of nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita and everything else that you're going to continue giving us. So thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, it's related to Sahadev Prabhu's question as well, but I'm looking at it more. He was asking from an ISKCON perspective. I'm asking more from a spiritual perspective. And although I know the answer that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he can do, he's not restricted, he can do what he likes. However, in the case of Aswatthama, he didn't show the same Kripa Shakti as he has to all the other demons that he vanquished and liberated.
I didn't understand. Who didn't show Kripa Shakti, what you said?
So Krishna liberated many demons during his pastimes. Why was it that in one respect Aswatthama was not liberated in the same way? Everyone else that had done many heinous acts were liberated, but this guy was...
I got your point. I got your point. You see, Aswatthama was not liberated like other demons or other soldiers, warriors in the battlefield. Is that there is a higher purpose to teach a lesson for we readers, which is coming in the future section, that how the Aswatthama is being dealt with. You will see that is coming next class. In the next class, when you hear the next class, then you will know, oh, wow, so much is here. That's why Krishna, he left him for the time being, because he has a higher purpose to teach us how to deal with different situations. Even in such a situation, you see how Arjuna, even though Arjuna had promised, right? I will behead. And as soon as he captured Ashwatthama, he could have beheaded him. Even he would not do that. He will bring him to the camp and you will see what is going to happen afterward. Just wait for the next class, then you will get your answer. That's what I said. Like Krishna, how Krishna behaves, nobody can calculate. It is beyond human calculation. But without saying, Krishna's activities are always free from errors. That we should know. And there is a lot to learn. That this is how you should realize Bhagavatam. When you say Rasika Bhui Bhavuka, some people think just by going to the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, listening to the internet, and the intimate pastime of Krishna with the gopis is the highest form of hearing. No, you should hear all these things. Here also there is a lot of nectar for you as a conditioned soul to nurture your Krishna consciousness. A lot of good lessons are there. Very much, to ground the human civilization in their foot. Bhagavatam is the best scripture. Therefore, we have started this program. Bhagavatam is the savior of the whole world. Even today also we heard. This is the medicine for the conditioned souls. So if Krishna is not dealing with this situation differently, how it will act like a medicine? So medicine is coming. Next class you will hear.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. I have another question as well. We read and we discussed about how devotees remain equipoised and even those that had committed offenses like Kripacharya, etc., for being on the opposite side still, Yudhishthira Maharaj accepted them in the arena of his council. It was of the Pandavas, though, that was largely limited to Yudhishthira Maharaj, whilst other Pandava devotees, such as Bhima, held very strong grudge against Duryodhana throughout, and had he had his way, he would not have been the same compassionate nature. So how do we read that? Within the five brothers, they all devotees, yet they were not behaving in the same way with the same people. They looked at the same position in a completely different perspective and a very different mood.
Try to understand it. You see, first of all, Pandavas are the devotees of the Lord. And they are helping Lord to perform his pastime. Right? Even when we come to this Bhishma Dev's section, Bhishma Stuti, there also you will be surprised. Wow, what is this? Who is this Bhishma Dev? Bhishma Dev has come from Parthasarathi Loka. And he, after leaving his body, he went back there. Then how come he was shooting arrow at Krishna? What is this all happening here? So the point is, first of all, they are in Leela here. That Lord is enacting the pastime with his devotees to teach us. So when we know that they are the Nitya Parsadas of the Lord, they cannot commit any mistake. But if they look like, acting in a confused manner, like a conditioned suit, but that is just for our understanding, to give us the lesson. That is one part. So Bhima, even though he was acting like that, therefore Bhima was never described in Shastra as Ajata Satru. Only Yudhishthira Maharaj. Bhima is not said the way Yudhishthira Maharaj is addressed. Therefore, you can understand somebody who is heavily inspired by mood of Rajaguna and somebody like Yudhishthira Maharaj, what is the difference? Then what you are aspiring to become, you are aspiring to become a Bhima, or you are aspiring to become Yudhishthira? That is to be seen by individual devotees. And Krishna is performing these pastimes to teach us the lesson. Try to understand this.
So the takeaway there then, Prabhu, the question I was asking is that the description of how a devotee should behave may vary according to different moods of that devotee. Like within the five
No,
brothers, there
yeah.
are different moods.
What
And therefore,
happened?
one prescription does not fit all them.
No, when a devotee has already transcended these three modes of material nature, he is dealing with the world, and some devotee who are in the mixed mood, their dealing are different, and the results are also different accordingly. So now we as a devotee need to take a call. Okay, where am I? What is my behavior? How is my dealing with these different situations? Where I am now, where I should go? That is up to the individuals. Therefore, we say in our Vaishnava behavior, if somebody criticizes me, finds faults with me, I should take it as Krishna's mercy. But when I find that somebody is being criticized before me, then I should try to kind of not speak. Look, this is not right. But for me, whatever comes, I take it as Krishna's mercy. Oh, to digest it, this is like an abisa, this is like a poison you are trying to digest. It's not so easy, my dear sir. Unless you have gone through a lot of tests, hurdles, and you have accepted Krishna as the soul for you, then Krishna is your sole interest. Then only you will have this kind of mood and you can maintain yourself steadily. Otherwise, you will lose yourself. Not everybody can go ahead with this strong stand. Very difficult. Therefore, walking on the path of Krishna consciousness means you should walk by holding your Guru's hand. That is safest way. Because Guru is having a strong connection. Like we say, no. The Guru is having direct connection with the main powerhouse, main power source, that is Krishna. He is having like a very high voltage. So he is surcharged all the time. Then you walk by holding your Guru's hand. That means you are also in connection with the powerhouse, but not directly through a substation. Guru is like a substation. Okay. Krishna is main powerhouse. That is necessary. You understand?
Very nice analogy. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
See, walking on the path of Krishna consciousness is not supposed to be done on sentimental level. Or we can say, walking on the path of Krishna consciousness should not be done on just psychological level. Some people, they have given psychological appetite to Krishna consciousness, trying to understand philosophy by reading psychology. What does this psychology have to do with Krishna consciousness? Rubbish. Pure Krishna consciousness is pure. Just take it in a pure manner and you will see the effect immediately. Simple. It's like Sadguru is there. He knows what he is talking. He is behaving accordingly. And whatever he does, it's not, there's an immediate effect in the disciple. On the other hand, Guru is trying to kind of adjust with his so-called mundane desires. He is hankering for disciples. These are all unwanted approach. Prabhupada never did that. Prabhupada was very direct in his approach, very clean also. You can ask me from any live pastime of Prabhupada, you can see, you may be confused, but if you try to understand how Prabhupada dealt with different situations, Prabhupada was uncompromising in every approach in his life. He knew exactly well how he was doing and where he's going. Prabhupada was never confused. That is required. That is required. That's why Prabhupada was able to establish such a worldwide organization. In the name of Krishna consciousness, nowadays people do so many things. Who bothers about that? That's not required.
I have one more question for you, Prabhuji. One more clarification on something. We've already touched on this in the past, but I know it's a somewhat of a sensitive question, but I will ask it regardless. in our society, taking a step back, the purpose of taking shiksha and taking guidance of Guru is that Guru is supposed to be able to understand the disciple and customize the instruction.
Wait. Here, before further you continue, here I want to comment something. You say Guru is supposed to understand his disciple. You know what is the weight of this statement?
Sorry, does understand. I'm sorry.
No,
He
no,
understands.
what I mean to say is, please don't misunderstand me. What I mean to say is, you don't have to be sentimental. You know, the Guru has to be a self-realized person. Then only he can actually see what is going on with his disciple. There's a lot of things to be understood here. Not anyone, any Guru can understand any disciple in kind of, just in a easy manner. It doesn't happen like that. You have to be practical, okay? Therefore, Guru can be also a Madhyamadhikari Vaishnava, even Uttamadhikari Vaishnava also. Sometimes the Guru can also be a Kanishta Adhikari Vaishnava. Do you think a Kanishta Adhikari Vaishnava can understand what is going on with his disciple? No, he cannot. Therefore, the practical way is Guru and disciple, they should sit together, they should discuss, they should understand, find solution from Shastra. And Guru, because Guru is supposed to be in a higher platform of Krishna consciousness, and with his realization and understanding of Shastra, tries to help the disciple. And even if somebody is in a realized platform, he's not going to deal with the disciple in that way also. Try to understand that. That's also another part. No, even though Guru is in a very highly realized platform, he will always bring himself down to the level of the disciple to help him from where he is. That is what it means by dealing with the disciple on behalf of by a Guru, self-realized Guru.
So that was my question, where the purpose, as you say, of the relationship between Guru and disciple is for that dialogue, discussion, and for instruction to take place. But in our society today, when our gurus, all of whom largely have so many hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of disciples sometimes, that personalization is completely bereft. It does not exist, apart from a few handful of inner circle disciples that might have access to our gurus. We typically do not have access.
Therefore,
the day-to-day, that customization, that guidance, how do we actually seek it? Because we need it, but we can't seek it.
That is why we are saying, in this connection, the disciples need to become smart enough to see through that who is available to me, easily accessible. I should go and take shelter of him. And rather than thinking that go to somebody who I cannot access in the name of big. And then what happens? You don't even get a chance for the rest of the life to talk to him even. Oh, okay. There's some people are satisfied with that kind of relationship, they can go with that. Some people, they want personal guidance, then you have to go to somebody who you can take personal guidance from. Very simple. World is big. Therefore, many Guru, they have got many disciples. Then again, also many disciples are coming, and disciples are satisfied with that kind of relationship. That's fine with them. But if you are seeking somebody who would give you personal attention, then you have to find that kind of Guru and go to him. Very simple. ISKCON has got many gurus. We are not forcing any disciple that you have to go and take initiation from such and such Guru. We never tell them. We leave it unto the disciple. Let them take the decision. I am being very direct here.
Yes. So, I mean, the message is to find, even if you may have a Diksha Guru, to find Siksha Gurus through whom you can get that personal customization of instruction that is more akin to your requirements and to your practice of devotion and sadhana, is what I'm hearing from you. Because if you have already Diksha and you have already taken Diksha, then there's no choice of finding alternatives. You already have your Guru Maharaj, but the access to that Guru Maharaj may not be there. But to find that instruction means to seek out alternative Shiksha Gurus through whom you can get that instruction.
That Shiksha Guru should not be speaking something different from your Diksha Guru. Means core principles should remain the same. Our core teaching is, even our Guru, Diksha Guru also, does not speak something different from Prabhupada. That is the kind of the main item you need to test on your Shiksha Guru. Then yes, that's correct what you said. Okay.